Hi, welcome to Chapter 7 of Algebra 1. Before we jump into Chapter 7, there's a couple of things that you'll need to be familiar with and need to be able to keep up in that memory that you can recall pretty easily. So I've placed it on the front of your master application packet. So let's take a look at this real quick. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom of your packet where you see these notes down here. It's important in algebra that you understand the difference between a coefficient, a base, and an exponent. Okay? And I want those three things to go together like peanut butter and jelly and bread in your brain. Okay? Coefficient, base, exponent. That's what you need to think every time you hear those words. Sorry about my cell phone. Let's talk a minute about coefficient, base, exponent, and what this means. You'll see algebraic expressions that look like this. Okay? Or they may look like this. Okay? Or they may look like this. So when we talk about coefficient, base, exponent, what are we talking about? Well, let's talk coefficient first. The coefficient is the number that's in the front. So in this first example, it's the 2. In the second example, it's the 5. The number out front, the coefficient. In the third example, it's the 7. Those are our coefficients. It's just the number in front of the expression. Next, we have the base. Now, the base of an expression refers to the variables, and each variable is its own base. So, this is a base, it's x. This is a base, x. And this is a different base, y. But they're both bases. Here's a y base and a z base. They're different, but they're both bases. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about our exponents. Exponents are those little numbers that are up high. We worked with them a lot last year. In our first example, it's this 4. It's smaller and set up just a little bit. And it's attached to the base. In the second example, we have a base or an exponent of 2 attached to the x base and an exponent of 1 attached to the y base. In our last example, we have an exponent of 2 attached to the y base and an exponent of 4 attached to the z base. And in order for an exponent to be there, it will always be attached to its own base. So, the three things you need to remember as we jump into Chapter 7 are coefficient, base, exponent. Coefficient, base, exponent. Do it with me. Coefficient, base, exponent. Are you snapping? That's important. Coefficient, base, exponent. All three things. So we're going to write it. Coefficient, base, exponent. Awesome. Now what happens if you have an algebraic expression like this? Say it was just 4x. Well, that's just coefficient, base, nothing. And that doesn't feel quite right. So the coefficient is the 4. The base is the x. And a rule for you to remember is if there isn't an exponent, then the exponent is 1. So you can just put that exponent in there and your expression is complete. Coefficient, base, exponent. And there you have it. Now we're going to talk about how to simplify these expressions, condense them down to make them smaller, and how to work with them in algebra. But in order for us to do that, it's important for you to know what it says in this box. In order for exponents to play nicely together, remember exponents are the little numbers up top. Exponents must have the same base. If you are going to simplify them in any way, all of the ways that we're going to learn in this chapter all come back to the exponents have to have the same base. So if they do, you're good to go. Be on the lookout for that.